Oh, approve, I'm sorry, thank you.
Second.
I'm getting way ahead of myself. Do we have a second?
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I'm trying to get through this too quick, Mr. Powell.
No, sir, it's been a long day.
It's been a long time. Mr. Powell, you were right here with us, bro.
Good afternoon. Try to keep it brief. These two positions that we're recommending were discussed during the budget hearings. Be glad to revisit any of the specific components to those two positions. We are requesting the approval of these new job classifications to be approved within the city so that we can go ahead and have those announced in partnership with HR.
Sure.
This only adds one new position to the city. The other position adds an upgrade to 3 existing positions with the airport.
And from what Ms. Herbert tells me, these are in the budget.
Yes, sir. They are in the budget.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
And then we need to vote on the second one as well.
Yeah, make a motion.
Second.
Same thing, second position.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes too. All right. All right,
Yes, council, this is a request to create a director of landscape management position. Of course, you know, we are building our construction facilities and grounds department. We've made the hire of the executive director, Summer Coleman, that will join us later this month. That division in construction facilities and grounds is by far the largest. There are about 80 employees. So we want to go ahead and establish this job description. The position is funded. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
When will she start again?
November 21st.
November 21st.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I think everybody will like her.
Absolutely. She has a lot of energy. She's been excited. I've been in contact with her, Brendan.
Yep.
She's ready to hit the
Later
ground
on
running.
screaming.
Good. Any other questions about this position?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes, yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Thorpe would like to talk about the buyer warehouse supervisor job classification. And that's budgeted as well, excuse me.
Yeah, this is two current positions, one water and sewer, one general fund position that we currently have. They would just be redirected from a grade 19 to a grade 21. Both were in the budget this past year as well. Main request for this is these guys have almost doubled or sometimes even tripled their responsibilities due to some decisions that we made, pulling P cards and other things within the city a few years ago. And so, you know, there's a big increase in what we've asked them to do. So that's what essentially
Is
this
this
is.
the warehouse down by
Well, this is one by the water distribution warehouse, and then the other one is over by the airport, the big
Oh, okay.
warehouse we got out there.
Okay.
Both of them have seen over 100% increase since 2018, and everything that they've done in some places 200% increase, and we've only added one person.
Any other questions?
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes. On a roll.
Yes. This is a request to approve the 5 promotional contract with Industrial Organized Solutions. This is our annual contract that we have each year for the promotional process. This is budgeted in our outside services line item.
What exactly do they do?
So it's a whole process. There's a written portion, there's a portion where they demonstrate that they can perform certain functions. It's a lot of work. Our employees put a lot into it. It's over about a week's period of time, and you want to go into more detail?
It is, it's a combination of what I would consider years of preparation for the employee to get to this aspect. But what this company does is they look not only what we want, but they look nationally and see what other trends are going on, what other departments are doing, and then they allow us to have those open discussions and open dialogue with them in the development of our promotional test.
Gotcha.
We identify SMEs, subject matter experts for them, and they help through the process of developing the test.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. All right. Mr. Holmes, I think.
Jimbo.
Been voting
Oh,
on
Jimbo,
it.
that's good, Jimbo, I was thinking about it. This is so
I'm
obvious.
gonna be pretty quick on this one.
Yes.
Accident Review Board meets once a month, that city employees review all accidents with the idea of not having the same type of accident happen twice and reducing accident, and it has been effective. The current 19-14 still has IPS, 5 employees, including safety director, and that just has to change because we don't have IPS department anymore. So that's now stretched out between Public Works, Water and Sewer, Construction, Facilities and Grounds, and Human Resources is going to have 2 members to include the safety director and also the CDO trainer, which the CDO trainer will have a lot to offer in regarding some of the large equipment type of accidents, which we do have quite frequently. So that's the only change. It's going from 11 members to 9. And one of the reasons it's being reduced is we don't have a place to have everybody sit when everybody shows up. And we do get good attendance. So it used to be 9 and it went up. I think IPS asked for more members, but it's going back to 9. So any questions from that?
Having had sit in front of one of these boards before, 9 is plenty to intimidate somebody like me. So I think this is a necessary board. Obviously, you never want to go in front of it. But,
Meaningful changes have come out of ARB, and our safety director continues to bring change and policy and things like that. So we're having a very good year from an accident standpoint and workers' comp.
any questions? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. All right, now, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, sir. This one is very easy, is very bureaucratic, and comes with our relationship with the federal government through our EMA. About once a year or so, EMA gets a request from the federal government to, for us to recertify the fact that we use the National Incident Management System, which is our NIMS system, our NIMS training that all our employees have. Is how we structure and how we run incident command whenever we have anything that would require something like that. We actually use it quite frequently, you know, in addition to having it for COVID or having it during a weather emergency. We use it on game days. We use it actually for amphitheater performances, pretty much anything else we do. All this resolution is doing is actually the exact same resolution you guys adopted about this time last year, except for with this year's dates on it, is saying that we still use the NIMS system. We have to do that resolution so the mayor can sign the sheet of paper the government requires of us, Northport, the county, all the members of our local EMA.
Any questions?
I make a motion to
Second.
readopt.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
passes. Now, which one of y'all are gonna lead the way on this, Chief?
Good evening again, council.
Hey, buddy.
Feel like I've been here all day talking to y'all.
Yeah, you have.
Just kind of want to give y'all an update on the queuing permits. I know y'all wanted to come back and let you know if any have been issued citations. We have not issued a single queuing permit citation. Every time we've talked to a bar, they've done exactly what we've said. We've told them basically, hey, cut your line, they've cut their lines. All the bar owners are working really hard to do this and do everything right. We did have a little bit of change up on game day operations. We kind of changed the way we do things, and the streets were shut down, so it didn't really allow that queuing permit that we kind of worked towards on those days. But we haven't had any problems on the strip really since then. Last weekend it got a little bit rowdy, but we were able to handle it. But we haven't issued any citations, and I don't know if y'all have any questions or anything like that, but we haven't answered.
I just like your opinion. Do you think it's been worthwhile?
I think it is. Before we would make suggestions or stuff, hey, you gotta do this, you have to do, cut your line, and there was no teeth behind it. Now we can say, hey, cut your line. Everybody's been very cooperative. So I can't thank the bar owners enough for that, and we're working with them and taking their suggestions. I'm on the strip, like I said, after every home game and, other nights, Friday and Saturday nights, I'll go out there. And they'll come up and talk and, hey, have you thought about this? And we're trying to work with them. We're not just trying to, hey, here's your citation. But if somebody doesn't do something we've said after, hey, at that point, we would do a citation. But I feel like it's a good team effort at this point. You'd have to actually ask the bar owners, their thoughts on it. But that's from the PD stance.
Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chief.
Appreciate you.
All righty. Last but not least on our agenda today is the short-term rental ordinance go. Mr. Kiner had some comments, and I know I'm gonna turn this over to him again in just a minute. But, I wanna reiterate what he said. When this was passed, nobody had any idea that we would be where we are today. And, so I hope perhaps we can make this better. We'll just have brief discussion today. But I want to say this to everybody, we can pass an ordinance, we can change the ordinance, but I want us to do something that is enforceable. And we have to remember, when we pass an ordinance, obviously, we don't want to, get in crosswise with any state or federal laws. And from what Mr. Holmes has already told us, there are some federal laws that might not let us do some of the things that have been suggested. So I want us to do something that our code enforcement and our police can actually enforce, and not just something for lip service. And also, I want to make it clear that every neighborhood is equal to every other neighborhood. I don't care if you're a very modest neighborhood or you're a very well-to-do neighborhood with high property taxes. I think they all should be equal in front of us. And having said that, I give it to Mr. Tyner.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman Fail. Yes, and one thing I'd like to say that I've said to a couple of people, I haven't gotten many emails, but a lot of folks are wanting to say this all came about because of the Highlands. The Highlands being a wealthy neighborhood. That is absolutely not true, because I've wanted to revisit, as Ms. Christ can tell you, for some time, when you see 3 and 4 hour ZBA meetings that are having 16, 18 per month. Mr. Councilor Fell is exactly right. We went through a lengthy process. I never expected it to just, what I call an onslaught. This has happened. I'm not against short-term rentals, and this is not to do away with short-term rentals. This is to step back and examine 5 years ago, are we where we need to be? And so I had a long talk with Mr. Fell last night, and what I want the Roberts and everyone to know there, that we're going to be led by Ms. Kreitz and Mr. Holmes, with input from all the council members, input from all of you, to come back around December, did we say December 13th? I believe.
December 20th would be
20th.
the admin committee meeting.
And have a chance to look at maybe some things that we need to correct, things that we're doing really good, things maybe not so good. Look at other successful cities and the way they're running things. It's gone south in some ways that has caused me a lot of concern. But I do believe there is a place for short-term rentals. But that being said, if anyone listening today too would like to have your voices be heard on what you would like to see, if you could email to STR, short-term rentals, at Tuscaloosa.com. And in about 6 weeks, we will come back with a recommendation or two, maybe 1, 2, 3 options. Then have a public hearing, let the public have their say about which options they prefer or they like or don't like, and then a vote by the council. I'm hoping that this will not go through January 31st. I'm hoping it can possibly even be by the end of the year.
No.
So we'll just, because it's sure not our intent to stretch this out by any means. And but today, and I know you'll have what you want to say, it's kind of like what the mayor did last week. We did a schedule, a timeline for the police and fire pension, and I just kind of want to do that today too, to let everyone know that, as Mr. Fell put it on the agenda today, we're not messing around. We're going to move as quickly as we can, and hopefully come back with 2, maybe 3 options to look at. mid-December.
Yes, sir. So I think what we would like kind of as staff, because this has been a council-led effort to sort of bring this back up, what we'd like as staff is to get as much information from this committee and obviously all our council members as to the issues you're seeing and the concerns you have. If we can get that over the next couple of weeks, Ms. Kreitz and I believe we already have a meeting on Thursday with her staff to start talking about some of these things. We know some of the issues and some of the concerns that have been brought. One of those being not having so many ZBA cases. And so we'd like to start thinking through that process. We would hope to get that information in time enough to sort of bring some ideas or some recommendations back to this committee on the 20th of December. That would then give you guys as a committee and as council members about a month to go back and talk to your constituents, because the next admin meeting would be on January the 17th, which is 2 weeks before the moratorium is set to expire. One thing that may put a little wrinkle in doing it quite as quickly as you would like, Mr. Tyner, is that depending on exactly what we change, some of these changes will have to go back to planning and zoning. But where I would like to be on the 17th is to be able to give you a better time frame of, okay, planning and zoning will have to do this, this will take effect X date, and so if we extend the suspension to X date, everything will be done. I will say, Ms. Kreitz and I have done this dance for half a decade now. And I will say it's not perfect, but our short-term rental regulations, I think, work really well, and I think are probably some of the model that other folks use. And so we'll look, and certainly from her planning folks, look at how other people do it. But we're doing pretty good, I think.
We are considered a best practice. What our current ordinance is considered a best practice, and that's gonna be a little bit challenging.
And Ashley, what I want to really credit you with, and that we've always been on the same page about, I'm not saying it's broken, I'm saying that you know that that anything that we vote on, the council, ZBA, planning and zoning, you gotta be able to say no. And you can't always say yes. And that's how you feel, correct?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And that's
that-
why, we established the primary and discretionary criteria for the zoning board of adjustment to use, and how they chose to use it is purely up to them. They are an independent body.
Correct.
So,
But I've got some ideas I don't want I'll share with you, just like I hope everyone else will. And my ideas come from things that I feel like we probably could do a little better.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean they are better, but there's just my opinion.
I'm excited to talk about short-term rentals in the committee meeting and only see Ms. Roberts and her daughter here, and not have people standing up and us having to bring in extra chairs like we did 5
Well,
years ago.
and you and me both, because I started after last week to get the shakes.
well, and council, I know we brought it up very briefly at pre-council, just in terms of whose district has what. So if you want to know whose district has what, let me tell you.
Please.
Yes.
So,
What you got primary?
I got data.
That's right.
We love
Let's let her tell it.
You know me, I've got data for you.
Okay.
So District 1, you've got 4.5%, 8 total. District 2, you have 4%, you have 7. District 3, you have 5.1%, you have 9 total. District 4, you have 56%, big winner, with 98 total licenses. District 5, you have 3.4% with 6 total. District 6, 5.1%, 9 total. District 7, you are coming in hot at 2.2%.
Chilling.
Just 4, and our our police jurisdiction has the remainder 19.4% or 34. Now, over the years, those have been consistent. We've had a total of 651 licenses over time. And those have shifted. We referenced it at pre-council as well. At one point in time, District 3 was hot and heavy in here. And you can see now that District 3 doesn't have as many licenses.
Yeah, that really surprises me.
So it has shifted over time. But for the most part, you see it very heavily in District 4, very heavily in the planning or the police jurisdiction, and then interspersed among, actually with District 6 and District 3 coming in the all-time. So those are your numbers that you're looking at right now.
And what's the number again for District 4? How many is that?
He's got 98 total, 56%.
Is that counting this last meeting?
These are the active licenses, so the folks who are legally able, yeah, and those folks have not everybody's been through the license process on that.
Oh, okay,
They've got 30 days to take care of that,
okay.
so, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Ask a question,
Certainly.
please. Well, one thing that might be helpful for someone like me who knows a little bit about this to be dangerous is the criteria of how, like the process of how this works. If I want to do a short-term rental, does everything go before ZBA?
No.
So I think it would be good for us to know what has to go before ZBA, the criteria of how all this works. Doesn't have to be a big paper.
Sure.
But what is going before ZBA? Because if that is where the problem is, then I think that we should zero in on what's going to ZBA that's causing all these problems, and can we do something to rectify that? That's just
That's a fair question.
my thought about that, because I don't know all the rules about why we're doing what, but I think that would be helpful for me, and I feel like it would be for my compadres here,
Yeah.
also, as we're looking at this.
Do you want me to explain that now?
Yeah, that'd
Oh.
be great if we got time.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fail?
We've got 8 minutes until we have to turn it over.
Sure, we can do this in 8 minutes. And if you will refer back to the email you got Friday afternoon, we'll do this by memory, but if you are in the Tourist Overlay District, so the Tourist Overlay District is bounded by the river, Nick's Kids Avenue, 15th Street, and McFarland Boulevard. If you are in the Tourist Overlay District, that is a by right area, unless you are a historic district. Historic districts are always special exceptions, so historic district properties, no matter where they are in the city, are going to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. If you are outside of the Tourist Overlay District, you're going to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, no matter who you are, what you do. So, but if you're in the police jurisdiction, you are just coming to get a business license. So that's why there's a plethora of cases, because in the 2019 ordinance, when we opened it up to be citywide, that was the pathway. It was to send the folks outside of the Tourist Overlay District who wanted to do short-term rentals through the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
So is that what's causing the cluster?
That is what's causing the large numbers. Because, I mean, District 4, for the most part, and a little bit of District 1 are in that by right area. And everybody else is in the special exception area.
Mr. Busby, did you have something?
No,
I just saw you got the microphone.
I did. That was just anticipating I might have something.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Strikes or Mr. Holmes? I just want to say again, I don't want to put anything on anybody that we can't enforce. We have had a discussion about at least one ordinance we have that sounds good, but we can't enforce it. And we just don't need to do it. So, I know we'll be careful with what we do, but that's just something I thought about.
I would like to reiterate Mr. Holmes' point of, I need to understand what you as a council may be concerned with. That way we can start to make adjustments where necessary. Because again, we are a best practice ordinance in a lot of respects. But I do need to understand just so we can start to make those tweaks, if there are any to make, as necessary.
Well, Mr. Tyner's not here, but I would say this if he was. we may not change it at all.
I mean,
We may determine that we've got the best possible situation. Maybe not, but we might determine that, and I think we need to be open-minded all the way through.
yes.
Any other questions for anybody?
And I would just say, can I say one more thing, Mr. Bell?
Certainly.
Before we were to contemplate making a change, I just hope that we really understand what it is we're doing. Because I don't think any of us want to come back and have to look at this again. With
It has-
unintended consequences,
Yeah,
okay? So I don't know, that's just.
And I do think that the better that we understand it, we can help those that serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission and the ZBA understand what we're expecting to see from this.
And to Raven's point, it sounds to me like there may need to be an orientation with the ZBA members too, about making sure everybody's on the same page about what you can and can't do.
So I
And
will.
what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, I mean.
I will
is
give
that-
credit to the planning staff, and while I am only 6 months removed from being the planning staff, the zoning board of adjustment has been trained and trained and trained.
And trained.
And trained again, yes.
And I want to say this about
I don't doubt that.
both the zoning, planning, zoning, all this that I get confused. I appreciate those people.
Absolutely.
Because this is a very thankless job they're doing.
Yes.
And I appreciate the fact that they, including you, will spend the time and do this. It's a great service to our city, and they get a lot more complaints than they do thank yous, I know, I'm sure. So, thank you if you're watching.
Yeah.
But
I'll
anyway,
pass along your thanks to them
please
as
do.
well.
Any other questions?
So if anything had to go back before planning and zoning, how far out does it push our?
What it could do, so if you're looking at January 17th
If we
at
came,
admin,
sure, if we came, or let's say if we came out of December 20th and y'all said,
here's what we want.
we know we want to go this route, take that to planning and zoning.
You would look at the January 18th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. You would look at then the first Administration and Policy Committee meeting in February if the Planning Commission has any changes, and a beginning of March adoption.
So planning, the going through planning is always going to pretty much add around a month to 6 weeks to any decision that y'all make. Right? Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank y'all very much, and I thank you for what you're gonna be doing in the next few weeks, too.
Thank
I
you.
don't envy that, although I expect to be involved with Mr. Tyler, and our Mr.
Yeah.
Anything else to be brought before this committee?
Can she say something?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. I just have, just very brief, for those of you that don't know, we own Bama Vacation Rentals, and we have over 80 properties in our program that are all short-term rentals, and so we want to be able to work very closely with y'all. One of the comments that were made were that we're having all these problems, but we've never had a problem with any of our properties in all these years of doing this, and so I want to make sure that any concerns that are coming up are supported by Ashley with documentation of statistical numbers and not just assumptions by a very noisy minority of people. Because we deal with thousands of guests per year, and we spend a lot of time talking with guests, making sure they understand why these rules exist, so that we can avoid issues in our properties. And we spend an inordinate amount of time with that, because it's not something we can just do in writing. We have very extensive rules for our guests, but we also communicate with them through texting and talking to make sure that we're not going to have a problem. We don't want to receive a phone call from the code enforcement
And
officer.
I think we all understand that.
So I just want to make sure that we are not making assumptions without something
I
developed
think
behind
the
it.
problems are things that y'all don't have under your control.
Right, well,
You
that's
have
gonna be
no
my next
control over
question,
the
because
issues
I,
themselves.
to me, what I've seen in the involvement of this, because I feel like I'm at the ZBA meeting almost 10 out of the 12 months. And most of the stuff is rubber stamped, and I just don't see that there's as big of an involvement needed with the ZBA, and it's creating such a backlog with them. Especially like renewals, I have to stand and say, I'm Kim, they say there's no problems, they rubber stamp it. Why did I even have to come? You know, why did we have to put that before the ZBA? Why couldn't it just be that these have had no problems, let's just send it on through and not have to appear before the ZBA? It just eats up time at those meetings.
Well, I will say, because there aren't many Kims. And
Well,
we're- and we're getting more.
I do realize that there are.
And my problem, and I can share with you outside, my problems have been increasing from, you know, we had one that was selling drugs, we had one that were doing prostitution.
Right,
We've
and
had
obviously,
we've
those
had
are
some-
ones we got shut down, but
so-
y'all know about that.
but
So
we-
those should be
but-
the ones that are brought before the ZBA,
It probably shouldn't have been,
approved in the first place.
yes,
Right.
so.
So I
But
think
I do
that there's a
appreciate
lot of
what-
things that the
what you do.
employees, you know, the staff could probably say, this is one that we can go ahead and give a 1 year, I think it's gonna be fine, and we come up for renewal, there's been no issues, we let it go through. I think on some of these, obviously, the ZBA needs to be involved, but I don't think everybody needs to be involved in it every single time.
Yeah.
And I feel for them, because I've been at some of those meetings where they've been there till 10 and 11 o'clock at night, and it's unnecessary, because at the end of the day, they're gonna approve that person because there is no record, and then you've had 30 people stand and say, I don't want it, because they're ill-informed, and they find out a year later, they don't show back up at the renewal because there's been no complaints that they can document.
Well, we get those phone
So,
calls.
I know.
It's been painful. And I feel your pain
You know,
on that.
I do too,
We
because-
we discussed it. And
Yes,
so maybe
yes.
that's one thing you can talk with Ashley about.
I just wanna be sure that we're backing up concerns with actual numbers of,
Certainly,
you know,
and we understand that.
statistics,
We do.
that we're not just assuming.
No,
No, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I think any insinuations on violations should be backed up with the address of the property, the manager, and what the violation was. Whether it was
Absolutely.
exceeding the set number of days, occupants, cars, whatever. So
Because you
we're
look at
in
that,
violent
sometimes
agreement on
it's
that
from
point.
an
I
actual
would,
owner.
please, I would say this also, as a general remark. There is nothing that we can do that will stop what 3 back-to-back winning football seasons will do. There's many things we won't have to do that 3 back-to-back losing seasons will take care of. And in general, the market is a lot smarter than we are. So I just want us to keep that in mind as we move forward.
Thank you.
And can I make my final comment is
Certainly.
that we caught a lot of people in this that are in the middle of contracts. We have 3 different owners right now that got caught in this moratorium that already have closings scheduled on a property that are in areas that shouldn't even be an issue. And they are sitting here with no way to come out of that closing date. They have to move forward on it and just in absolute panic because of this moratorium.
Well, we're not gonna do away with short-term
I
rentals.
know, but they're worried about, well, what if they change everything and then I can't use this house that I'm purchasing for this purpose? And they're caught because it's too late to get out of the contract.
I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
I know.
I know. I just feel very strongly that this needed to be done, and because of some things that have happened, not with you,
Right.
I'm talking about individuals who I think are preying on neighborhoods now that we didn't have a year ago. But thank you.
Okay, thank
Well,
you.
all right, unless someone has something they just absolutely have to say, we're cutting into the next committee's time.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn, Mr.
Do we have
Fail.
a second? All right, all in favor?